I am so heated. There are a lot of reasons to be upset in the world right now, especially with a new strain of COVID bringing back mask mandates in some areas and companies, but I'm mad about a game that has true merit. Mabinogi. I've been watching a few streamers like Akatema stream the new 80% Ultimate Glass boss in Crom Bass, and oh my god, the fight looks so unfun. You have a bazillion ads all come at you at once with Thunder, Fireball, Ice Spear, Lightning Bolt, Puppet Snare, and even regular attacks just stunning the crap out of you and dealing tons of damage. There are also these witches that you have to kill at the beginning, or else the massively buffed defensive stats of everything in those ice circles. Ultimate Glass has a large AoE attacks and has void attacks that can one-shot you. Nexon has no idea what the hell they're doing at this point. If the boss battle takes more than an hour of serious trying, then there is no way Nexon even tested this fight once! Who has the time for this? An hour-long dungeon followed by another hour-long plus of a boss fight? Why? So let's take a look as to why Crom Bass sucks and why Nexon can't find the balance between challenging and fun content. First off, what's the issue here? Is the number of ads? On the test server, players were able to fight Ultimate Glass without any ads, and it took Akatema's party about 45 minutes to clear. With the ads, Akatema's party now took 2 hours and 5 minutes to clear just the boss phase. There are definitely too many ads on screen, and they aren't really killable because after you kill one of them, they immediately start respawning. This contributes a ton of artificial difficulty for sure, and artificial difficulty is never fun for the player. The player won't say the game is hard, they'll say the game is BS. There is a huge difference between an actual challenge and BS. So we removed the ads, we're now down to about 45 minutes of pure Ultimate Glass. 45 minutes is still way too long, especially if you need to spam this at least 7 times a week in order to get their full rewards. Most of the raid bosses in other games are around 20 minutes maximum. 45 minutes is totally disrespecting the player's time. I can go watch a couple episodes of, I don't know, Gravity Falls in the time period or some other show. Ultimate Glass's issue now is that its defensive stats are extra padded for no reason. Again, it's more artificial difficulty. Players shouldn't have to be forced in a battle against a meat sack for 45 minutes. Okay. So now we nerfed the defensive stats in Ultimate Glass, so let's say we'll get to the fight around 15 minutes long. Now Ultimate Glass has this really funny move that it can start using below 30% HP, where it can fill multiple areas of the arena with a dark void that instantly kills you if you touch it. So much area is covered that it's not safe to go attack Glass during this time, and on top of that, Glass spams the hell out of this attack below 30% HP. You can't anchor rush or tumble out of the stack either because those skills are disabled for this fight for some reason. Okay, let's say we just nerf the one-shot voids. What are we left with? We're left with a really dull, boring, single boss that does AoE attacks every so often. These attacks don't even one-shot you. A majority of the player base will just either tank the hit, or use Blaze iframes, or Charging Stroke iframes, or like never will they do the Nintendo way of trying to walk out. It's not worth their time. Once we start removing all the artificial difficulty, we can see how much of this fight's time is spent fighting against utter BS. Now the actual fight isn't exactly the most innovative or interesting or fun boss battle in the world. This is not just limited to Ultimate Glass either. There are a lot of areas in the game where you just randomly get killed or hit and you don't even know why. Lucian Salamanders and Fence Piata spam Shockwave and Thunder. Valor and Revolution spams a swipe attack and a grab attack. Seth Lee's Scythes can randomly wombo you from 100 to 0 in a second. Kraken Juniors in Awakened Abyssal Lord can run at you without warning and combo you forever. The Alba Night Golem goes underground and spams a one-shot attack that's super hard to dodge. The Succubus Queen has a dash attack that's really hard to dodge, especially if you're in like hit stun because of heavy stander. And a Meteor attack that's also really difficult to dodge because you can't really predict where that's going. And the Succubus Fiends can stun like you and hit stun forever using their dual guns. If we remove all of this BS artificial difficulty, we're left with a really dull game. That is where Mabinogi breaks. Enemies are currently too hard because they keep adding unreactable, uncounterable mechanics. So you either get enough stats to brute force it all so it's not hard anymore, but in fact it's really easy, or you cheese it so it's also really easy. Once you realize as a player that the game isn't actually challenging you, you stop having fun. So here's a disclaimer, I'm not a game designer. but I do know what I like in an action video game. I like Genshin Impact, and I like Halo. These two games vary a lot, but have one thing in common. Fighting enemies is fun. Why? Let's start with Genshin Impact. It, at its core, is a pretty simple game. You have only a few buttons. You have an elemental skill, a normal attack, a charged attack, swapping characters, and ultimates. The most important button, however, is the dodge button. Genshin Impact's gameplay is so smooth because of this one button alone. When you're about to get hit, you can just cancel whatever attack you were doing with a dodge to get the safety. When you need to gap close in, you can dodge and sprint forward to get to your target. Without this button, Genshin Impact feels very clunky. Having to wait for the entire animations to play before doing anything else really does suck. Lower mobility feels awful because you're going to get hit without any counterplay. When you get hit in Genshin Impact right now, most of the time you can say that it was your own fault that you got hit because you didn't dodge in time. So once you realize this, you can start becoming a better player. You can start learning to dodge more often. You can start learning attack patterns. You can start learning, okay, when is it safe to do damage and when is it not? So where am I going with this? Buckle up because you're never going to unsee this. Why doesn't Mabinogi have a dodge button? So much of the end game is focused around positioning yourself in the correct areas, but the only viable movement skill in the entire game is Anchor Rush. That requires you to have chains, and without the invincibility that Anchor Rush has, it would be a horrible skill. Plus, the skill is outright banned in the final bosses of Crombas and Subject Data for some reason. Why do you have AoE attack indicators on the bosses if you can't dodge them? If it were up to me, I would add a dash skill that you can bind to any button on the keyboard. Here is my quick concept on what a dash skill would look like. Make it so that you can dash almost whatever you want, like if you have a skill loaded like Firebolt, stuck in the Magna Shot ending animation, or stuck in hit stun because you pinged on heavy standard. This one change can open up so many different possibilities. Now that you have a dodge button, Nexon can now add more attacks like the Succubus Queen's Dash to where the player is expected to dodge quickly. The game can now throw a lot of different attacks at the player that they can dodge in interesting ways. Dodge button can also buff different weapons, armor sets, and races too. For example, maybe you can shoot normal attacks while in the dodge animation with dual guns or shurikens, allowing you to kite mobs with ease. Maybe wearing clothing increases your initial dash range and decreases the stamina use, while heavy armor does the exact opposite, giving the player more choice as to what armor sets to use rather than just picking up light armor all the time, because it's the most balanced one and doesn't eat up your damage and gives you the most defensive stats. What about Elves being able to fully aim their range shots and cast magic while dashing? Giants being able to ignore hit stun of a single hit while dashing, humans able to act out of a dash the quickest out of all races. Mobility options in an action game make for a much better system. Your character should not feel sluggish. I should be able to maneuver around a Mabinogi instead of face-taking everything and eating a potion right after. Now that we have a dodge button, we need to update every single mob in the game to have more engaging gameplay. For example, let's start off with the Grey Wolves. All they do is circle around you, defense, smash, counterattack, and normal attack. That doesn't sound like it's very interesting at all. Most likely, even a player with 0 stats right now can just unlock it with smash and windmill and counterattack. It doesn't do anything else. The player never has to adapt to an enemy like this. Let's compare this to Halo. Halo has like only 4 different Covenant enemies with different colors that change how much health they have. However, these enemies have a lot of engaging gameplay with them because of how the player can choose to fight them with the weapons that they have and how the enemies attack and react to the player. When you see a grunt pull out a plasma grenade, you as a player know that you need to either move out of the way, kill it quickly, or you're going to die. Jackals have plasma shields that you either need to destroy with a plasma weapon, or you can punch them in the face, or you can blindside them by attacking them from behind, or you can shoot their hand and shoot them down. I can go on and on about Halo, but the point is that even without a dodge button, Halo feels super clean to play because the enemies are fun to fight with random mobility. When you take a hit, you can clearly say that it was your fault that you got hit, and if you improve your gameplay, you can dodge more attacks and land better hits. That is good game design. Learning attack patterns and attacking around those patterns feels really good. Let's go back to the Grey Wolf. Currently, it's not a really interesting enemy because it's so easy to beat. So, let's change a few of its attacks into something that's more suited to an action MMORPG. Instead of just a plain smash, maybe the Grey Wolf can lunge forward and grab onto the first target in its way, and then do its smash attack, similar to like Warwick Ultimate in League of Legends. Already we have more engaging gameplay. If we're stuck fighting a different enemy, we see a Grey Wolf charging a smash, we can either choose to dodge and stop attacking whatever we're hitting, Attempt to walk out instead and reserve stamina but have a higher chance of getting hit, act as Grey Wolf mid-smash and interrupt it, leave behind explosive kunai so the Grey Wolf can get stopped mid-lunge. We only have changed a single move, and already we have tripled the amount of options that the player has to fight the Grey Wolf. The Grey Wolf can have a few more regular attacks too. For instance, maybe its regular normal attack can be a swipe attack. First, the Grey Wolf would charge up its attack, clearly telling the player that it's going to attack with its swipe. Then the Grey Wolf would launch a swipe, dealing damage to everything in front of it and applying hit stun. The Grey Wolf can then combo 2 additional swipes to anything unfortunate enough to get in the way, doing its regular combo attack. Maybe the Grey Wolf can also have a rushdown attack where it runs it in a straight line and knocks away anyone in its path. So now that you have baseline attacks for the Grey Wolf, you can now attach this behavior to all wolf-type enemies in the game. Dire Wolves, Skeleton Wolves, Hellhounds, everything can now have these new attack patterns along with some other attacks depending on the monster. We don't want these attack patterns to be limited to endgame content, because we shouldn't tell players that they have to invest hundreds of hours into the game in order to get to the good combat in the end. So we need to apply this to every enemy in the game, because otherwise new players don't want to stick with the game. We can also change more attacks, like the magic skills. Currently, there's no real counterplay to Thunder, Ice Spear, and the Bolt skills. Sure, we have Evasion and the magic shields, but mobs use Bolt Magic too fast to actually do anything about it, and magic shields generally just suck. An enemy's Thunder can be turned into a delayed telegraphed AoE attack, similar to how Xerath's W works in League of Legends. Enemies can now use Thunder more often because the player is now able to dodge using the dodge button. Ice Spear can leave a freeze field in the spot that freezes players that walk into it and gets stealth damage if they get frozen and take the blast. Firebolt can be a slow homing attack that players have to dodge either to the left or right before they get blasted away. Ice Bolt can be the same, but much weaker and faster and has better tracking, still allowing the player to dodge, but is not the most punishing thing in the world if they were to get hit. Lightning Bolt can attack in a straight line, like Lightning Rod, but it doesn't have to knock back. Its enemies can use it a lot faster than Lightning Rod. Just like Halo, enemies now have interesting attack patterns and have clear counterplay. This is what an action MMO is supposed to have. It's not about making your characters so overpowered that they can just ignore all intended mechanics, or making enemies so BS that people don't want to do the content or just end up cheesing it. People want to do stuff the intended way, but Nexon keeps making uninspired content that requires the use of cheese. You guys remember Revived Illusion hostage circles? What about pet spam to get cracked to drop you? Flame burst spam on everything to stun lock them so you don't get hit. What about using magic skills instead of the Swords of Strife to kill the dragons at Sheep Vindicate? Or how about avoiding the Wraith War in Phantasm by riding a pet or using Anchor Rush? Or how about changing the color of the Alban Knight Golem to red instead of blue or green, because you don't want to actually do it the intended way. When you have to cheese everything, the game breaks and is no longer fun. Mabinogi's combo system, although very interesting, is not fun because Nexon can't expand on enemy attacks without making them either too easy or too hard. Players need to have the agency using mobility skills in order to make the combat fun and exciting. When Nexon keeps banning our mobility options as a way to make content more difficult, why? I know this rant was a little bit of everywhere, but I truly want Mabinogi to be fun because I really love this game. The combat system is super stale right now though, but I believe that a dash button will revitalize Mabinogi's combat system and allow Nexon to create more innovative attack patterns. Just hope that they realize the problems with the combat system now, not when it's too late. Thanks for watching.